All right, let's talk Philly football because the Eagles are officially back in action with OTAs underway. And while there are a ton of storylines worth following, there's one player in particular you absolutely cannot afford to overlook. We'll get into that, but trust me, this is just the start. From intense off-season workouts from A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith to roster battles already heating up, there's a lot going down. And yeah, we're going to dive deep into why one of Philly's most underrated players could be on the verge of a breakout. So let's lock in. First things first. The Eagles' OTA schedule is kind of scattered, but important. They're set for 6 different sessions. May 27th and 28th, May 30th, June 2nd and 3rd, and wrapping up on June 5th. It's worth noting NFL teams are allowed up to 10 OTA days, but head coach Nick Sirianni decided to go with just 6. His reasoning? It's all about finding that sweet spot, getting meaningful reps in without pushing the guys too hard before training camp kicks off. There's no full contact allowed during OTAs anyway. So it's more about mental reps, installing schemes, and watching how players move and adapt within the system. But hey, that doesn't mean we're not watching like hawks to see who stands out. And speaking of standing out, if there's one guy that's going to have all eyes on him during this OTA period, it's rookie safety Andrew Mukuba. Now listen, the pads aren't on. There's no tackling, no hard hits, but the anticipation around this kid is real. Former players and scouts have already been buzzing, with some even saying he's one of the most intelligent and instinctive safeties to come out of the draft in recent years. Not just this year, but maybe even the last 3. That's high praise. Former coaches have said he understands pre-snap reads like a seasoned vet and knows how to adapt depending on what the offense is showing him. That's rare. And when you hear things like he'll knock your chin strap off, even if that won't happen until full pads are on, you know the guy plays with edge. Now I get it. It's OTAs. We've all heard the hype before. Sometimes it's real, sometimes it fades. But last year it was guys like Nakobe Dean who started grabbing attention early during the same stretch, and that buzz ended up meaning something. So don't be shocked if Mukuba follows a similar path and becomes one of the early stars of these workouts. He's drawn comparisons to some legit players too. We're talking names like Devin McCourty, CJ Gardner-Johnson, even guys like Bob Sanders and Earl Thomas. And you know what that means for a guy like Vic Fangio. That type of safety, one who's smart, fast, physical, and can cover, is a dream fit in Fangio's scheme. If Mukuba can lock in, understand the playbook, and build chemistry with the veterans around him, he could easily emerge as a defensive weapon. And speaking of vets, let's talk about that leadership presence. Because it's not just about raw talent, it's about learning from guys who already know how to win. Take Devonta Smith, for example. The man's out here uploading workout videos that show him hitting the gym before 5 in the morning. No lie, Slim Reaper is out here working on his footwork, his strength, his burst, all of it, trying to take his route running to an even higher level. And if that wasn't enough motivation, A.J. Brown is going full beast mode in what some people are calling the most dangerous gym in America. Now, yeah, some folks might say that kind of training isn't ideal for long-term health or performance, but that's not even the point. The point is, this guy is already one of the best at his position, and he's still willing to push himself to the absolute limit. That's a championship mentality. Think about it. How many Super Bowl caliber receivers do you see putting themselves through that kind of grind in the offseason? He doesn't have to, but he does it because he wants to stay hungry, stay sharp, stay dangerous. It's that dog mentality, and it spreads through the locker room. That kind of effort is contagious, and it sets the tone for the entire team. Honestly, even with all he's accomplished, I still feel like A.J. Brown doesn't get enough credit. His presence on his roster is massive, not just in terms of production, but in the energy he brings. Now, while we're on that topic, the most underappreciated player in Philly right now, you might think of someone on offense, maybe a backup, but I'll tell you who NFL.com picked: defensive tackle Moro Ojomo. And honestly, it's a great choice. Ojomo quietly had a sneaky good season last year and is now poised for an even bigger role following Milton Williams' exit. Did you know he actually played more snaps than Jordan Davis last year? Yeah, 34 more to be exact. That's no small stat, especially for a guy who came in as a 7th round pick just a year ago. He also had the 2nd highest pass Rush win rate behind only Chris Jones, and Chris Jones is the gold standard right now, sure. It helps lining up next to Jalen Carter, but still, you have to do something with those matchups. Ojomo does. He's strong, quick, and disruptive. He's got the tools to carve out a serious role on this defensive line. And let's not forget, just 2 years ago, he was fighting for a roster spot. Now, he's practically a lock. And if he continues trending up, he might be one of the best steals of his draft class. Pair him up with Carter, Ty Robinson, and you've got a group that can wreck the interior of any offensive line. Now, with OTAs in full swing, it's only right that we start looking ahead to what the 53-man roster might look like. This is always tricky. You got injuries, camp standouts, surprise cuts, all of that. But let's take a crack at an early projection. Start with quarterback, Jalen Hurts, obviously. Then you've got Tanner McKee and Kyle McCord, some. Fans are bringing up the idea of Dorian Thompson-Robinson pushing for a spot. But with the control the team has over McCord's contract, I think the rookie gets every opportunity to beat DTR out. Running backs. Give me Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, A.J. Dillon, and Ben Van Sumeren. Now, some insiders believe Dillon might get left off, especially after missing all of last season, but I'm not buying that. Philly's going to run the ball. They always do. And you want depth when you're that run heavy. Dillon brings power, experience, and red zone value. And for those wondering about special teams guys like Avery Williams, we'll make room for him, don't worry. At wide receiver, the core is obvious. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Jahan Dotson. Add in Johnny Wilson. And yes, Avery Williams. He's got that versatility that coaches love. Maybe he doesn't have a true position yet, but he's got the tools to help in multiple ways. Offense, return game, even special formations. Unfortunately, that probably means guys like Aniyah Smith are on the outside looking in. But again, it's early, a lot can change. At tight end, Dallas Goedert and Grant Calcaterra are safe. For the third spot, I like Kylan Granson. Some people are still pushing for Harrison Bryant, but Granson's athleticism and blocking give him the edge. And yes, blocking matters, especially when you're going up against the kind of defensive fronts Philly will face. Offensive line. You better believe Jeff Stoutland is keeping at least 10. I'm actually rolling with 11. Starters are set. Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson. Backups, Keenan Green as the swing guard, Kendall Lamb as swing tackle, and Drew Kendall as the backup center. Then you've got developmental pieces like Miles Hinton and Cameron Williams. Trevor Keegan rounds it out. That's a solid group, one that gives flexibility and future depth. Now let's flip to the defense. On the edge, Philly loses big. Names like Brandon Graham and Josh Sweat, but the talent's still there. I've got Nolan Smith, Jackson Hunt, Azeez Ojulari, Josh Uche, rookie Antoine Powell-Ryland, and Patrick Johnson. It's a deep group, and yeah, maybe Huff gets traded. It wouldn't shock me. But for now, we keep him off this list. Interior line? 5 guys. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ojomo, Ty Robinson, and Thomas Booker. Booker is the wild card, but I like his upside. Gabe Hall and Byron Young could challenge, but Booker's got the slight edge for now. At linebacker, it's straightforward. Zach Bond and Jair Brown as starters, backed up by Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Smale. Mondon. Nakobe Dean is still in the picture, but he's likely to start on the PUP list, so he won't count toward the initial 53 cornerback. This is where it gets interesting. First 5 are easy. Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Kelly Ringo, Adoree Jackson, and rookie McKinstry. The 6th spot goes to Eli Ricks. Like it or not, Howie Roseman loves him, and depth in the secondary is always a premium. Safeties. Reed Blankenship, Andrew Mukuba, and Sidney Brown. That's the trio, unless someone like Justin Simmons gets added later. Tristan McCollum is in the mix, but he's on the outside for now. Special teams? Lock in Jake Elliott at kicker, Braden Mann at punter, and Charlie Hewlett at long snapper. That's your trio with Rick Lovato out of the picture, so that's where we're at. A full early roster projection, stacked with potential. And plenty of competition. You already know it's going to change. Training camp always brings surprises. But this is the foundation, and it's a strong one. Now that we've broken down the offensive and defensive depth, it's time to really dig into the bigger picture. Because the battles happening during OTAs and into training camp go way beyond names on a list. We're talking about culture, mentality, chemistry, everything that goes into building a team that's not just playoff ready, but capable of making a legitimate run. That's what makes this time of year so important, even if the pads aren't on and the hits aren't flying. Let's start right back with the secondary, because one of the biggest challenges for any NFL team is figuring out who you can trust back there when it matters. With Vic Fangio coming in, the scheme is going to be a lot more demanding. Safeties and corners need to disguise coverages, rotate effectively, and communicate on an elite level. And while the talent is there, execution is everything. That's why someone like Andrew Mukuba matters so much. He's young, he's raw in some areas, but mentally, he's way ahead of where most rookies are at this stage. That gives the Eagles a huge advantage, because if he can lock down even a rotational role early, it frees up Fangio to get creative with how he uses the rest of the secondary. And that flexibility is crucial, especially when you consider the youth movement going on at corner. Quenya Mitchell and Cooper DeJean are both freakishly talented, but they've got to prove it on the field. That's not to say they won't. In fact, all signs point to them having the potential to be immediate contributors. But adjusting to the speed of the NFL, reading route combinations, learning how offenses try to manipulate leverage, it's a big step. It helps that they've got a veteran like Adoree Jackson in the room. He's been through it. He knows the tricks, the angles, the mental side of the game. And that's where his real value is going to come through. Not just what he brings on Sundays, but how he helps guide the next generation Monday through Saturday. Kelly Ringo is another wild card. He's got the build, the speed, the athleticism, but consistency has been the issue. The good news? Word coming out of the facility is that he's taken a big leap mentally this offseason. More confident in the scheme, more vocal in meetings, more decisive in drills. If that translates to the field, then suddenly the secondary starts looking like a real strength instead of a question mark. But here's the thing. No matter how talented your defensive backs are, they're only as good as the pressure up front. That's why this defensive line rotation is going to be so critical. We already talked about Jalen Carter and the impact he makes. He's not just good, he's dominant, but he needs help. Jordan Davis has to stay healthy and take that next step. It's time. His raw power is unmatched, but he's got to improve his conditioning and pass rush technique. If he does that, he becomes a nightmare for offenses. And next to him, Moro is the kind of underdog story you root for, but also the kind of player that can quietly anchor your interior with toughness and consistency. On the edge, it's Nolan Smith's time to shine. No more hiding behind depth charts. He's got to be that guy now. The explosiveness is there, the bend, the motor, all of it. But this season, it's about converting pressure into production. Sacks forced, fumbles, game-changing plays. He has the tools. Now it's about putting it all together. And with guys like Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche around him, plus the young rookies trying to make names for themselves, competition is going to bring the best out of everybody. That same intensity applies at linebacker. Zach Bowen is locked in as a starter, and Jair Brown has been putting in work to become the type of hybrid player this defense needs. But keep your eye on Jeremiah Trotter Jr. The bloodlines are obvious, but it's more than that. This kid has a feel for the game that you just can't teach. He diagnoses plays fast, hits hard, and communicates like a vet. That's going to make it tough to keep him off the field, even early on. Then you've got Smael Mondon, who's a bit more of a project, but oozes athletic upside. If Fangio can get him to trust his reads and play with more discipline, he could be a monster in sub-packages. And with Nakobe Dean working his way back from injury, there's a clear path for one of these young guys to stake their claim and force the coaching staff into some tough decisions come cut day. Now swing back to the offensive side of the ball, because as stacked as this team is defensively, the offense still runs through Jalen Hurts. That's just reality, and right now all eyes are on how he's responding to last season's disappointing finish. From what we're hearing out of the building, Hurts has been locked in. More vocal, more demanding, more involved in everything from film sessions to individual workouts. That's what you want to hear, because when your quarterback leads with that level of intensity, it sets the tone for the entire building. The big question now is how this new offensive coordinator plans to build around him. Everyone knows Hurts can make plays with his legs, but the challenge is making the passing game more efficient, especially in the short and intermediate areas. That's where Devonta Smith comes in. His route running is already elite, but he's been putting in serious work this offseason to get even sharper, focusing on footwork, release variations, and body control. That tells me he's aiming for an all-pro caliber year, and if he stays healthy, there's no reason to think he can't reach that level. And then there's A.J. Brown, who we talked about earlier, grinding like a madman in the offseason, trying to tap into that next gear. It's scary to think that a guy already considered a top 5 receiver in the league is still trying to improve. That mindset, that hunger, is exactly what you want from your number one weapon. He's not just chasing stats, he's chasing legacy. And you can feel that in the way he prepares. Behind him, Jahan Dotson brings a different flavor to the receiver group. More of a technician with reliable hands and deceptive speed. He might not have the same star power as Brown or Smith, but he's going to be a crucial piece, especially when defenses focus their attention on the top 2. Johnny Wilson adds size and red zone value, while Avery Williams provides that wild card element. Maybe he's returning kicks, maybe he's lining up in the slot, maybe he's doing a little bit of everything. The versatility he brings makes it hard to leave him off the roster. Tight end depth is always tricky. Everyone knows Dallas Goedert is the guy. But what happens if he goes down there? That's where Kylan Granson can step up. He's not just a catcher, he's a blocker, a mover, a guy who can fit into different formations and help create mismatches. That gives the offense flexibility, especially when you want to go heavy but still keep the threat of a pass alive. Running back rotation is another puzzle. Saquon Barkley is obviously the bell cow. When healthy, he's as dynamic as anyone in the league. But it's about managing his workload and making sure he's fresh for the stretch run. That's where Will Shipley and A.J. Dillon come in. Shipley has burst vision and underrated power, while Dillon brings thunder to the equation. You mix those 3 together, and you've got a running back room that can handle any situation. Short yardage, third down, explosive runs, pass protection, and do not sleep on Ben Van Sumeren. He's a special teams ace with upside as a change of pace back. Coaches love guys like that. Dependable, hardworking, and always ready when called upon. If he sticks, it's going to be because he earned it the hard way. Offensive line depth is another area where Philly's front office deserves credit. The starters are elite, no question. But what makes this group so dangerous is that the backups could start on other teams. Guys like Tyler Steen and Keenan Green aren't just stopgaps. They're future starters who are getting valuable reps now. And that means if injuries hit, and they always do, the Eagles won't be scrambling. They'll be ready. That level of preparation is what separates good teams from great ones. It's not just about having a top-tier starting lineup. It's about having guys who are ready to step in and perform when their number gets called. And that mentality is being drilled into this team right now during OTAs. Now here's where it all comes together. Because when you look at this Eagles roster, the depth, the talent, the leadership, the coaching, you realize just how high the ceiling is. This isn't just a team trying to stay competitive. This is a team trying to dominate. And it starts with moments like these. Early workouts, film sessions, position battles. Every rep counts. Every day matters. Because when the season kicks off, there are no do-overs. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our Philadelphia Eagles. And don't be shy. Share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are growing louder around the NFL as speculation swirls about the future of the Philadelphia Eagles and their head coach, Nick Sirianni. After leading the team to an electrifying Super Bowl victory, Sirianni made a bold statement that has set the sports world abuzz. We're just getting started. Those 5 words have sparked a flurry of rumors, with insiders and analysts alike wondering if the Eagles are poised to build a dynasty. Sources close to the organization suggest that Sirianni's confidence stems from the team's young core and the front office's commitment to keeping key players in Philadelphia. While no official moves have been announced, there is mounting speculation that the Eagles are already in talks to extend several contracts and bolster their roster in free agency. Could Philadelphia be on the verge of creating the next great NFL powerhouse? The chatter among league executives hints that it just might be. Adding fuel to the fire, some insiders claim that Sirianni has already begun reshaping the team's offensive strategy, working behind the scenes on innovative plays and new schemes designed to keep opponents guessing. If true, this could mark the beginning of a new era in Eagles football, one characterized by sustained dominance rather than a single fleeting moment of glory. Of course, not everyone is convinced. Skeptics point out that maintaining success in the NFL is notoriously difficult, and the so-called Super Bowl hangover has derailed many promising teams in the past. But those close to Sirianni insist that he thrives on such challenges, and his post-game declaration is being interpreted by some as a signal of his determination to defy the odds. For now, all we can do is wait and watch as the offseason unfolds. But one thing is certain, with Nick Sirianni at the helm and his defiant proclamation echoing through the league, the Eagles are a team that no one will underestimate anytime soon. Whether this is the dawn of a dynasty or just another chapter in Philadelphia's storied history remains to be seen. But the buzz is impossible to ignore. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Philadelphia Eagles, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.